Nigeria has tried to fix this exact phone company four separate times since 2003. This is the fourth attempt, and the strange part isn't that it's happening again, it's the pitch behind it. This time, the argument isn't, we finally fixed the phone company. It's that it was never really a phone company to begin with. And if that's true, the last three attempts might have been solving the wrong problem entirely. The question worth asking is this: when a distressed company gets transformed right before a sale, how do you tell if that's a real fix or just staging? Quick version first. NITEL was born in 1985, merging two government telecom departments into one state monopoly. It missed the GSM mobile revolution completely when Nigeria opened up to private operators in 2001. What followed has been called a privatization circus, a failed management contract with Pentascope, a failed sale to Orascom, a failed sale to Transcorp that got revoked. By 2015, a group called NatCom finally bought the assets for $252 million and rebranded the company as NTEL. Early buzz was real. Nigeria's first 4G only network, fast modems, genuine excitement. Then the capital costs of running telecom infrastructure caught up with it. By 2023, with bank debt piling up and vendors unpaid, the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, stepped in and took a 55% stake. Fun fact: AMCON is basically Nigeria's bad debt cleanup agency. When a company owes more than it can pay back, AMCON can step in, take partial ownership, and either fix it or sell it off. And now, July 2026. AMCON says the company has been transformed and it's ready to divest, meaning sell off its stake to strategic investors. In plain terms, that just means buyers with real money and real telecom experience, not someone looking for a quick flip. Which brings us to the part almost nobody's asking out loud. If this is really a phone company for sale, why does the current strategy barely mention phones? Amcon's turnaround plan restructures Intel around three pillars, branded Beam, Eden, and Titan: connectivity, real estate, and infrastructure. Think fiber, towers, and land, not retail phone plans. Leadership calls it becoming a digital infrastructure powerhouse. In simple terms, instead of competing for your phone bill, Intel is betting on owning the pipes underneath the entire industry. But let's look at the part that actually explains why anyone keeps buying this company at all, decade after decade. Intel holds a minority stake in SAT3, an undersea internet cable that several countries and companies jointly own pieces of, sort of like a shared highway carrying Nigeria's connection to the rest of the internet. On its own, that's a slice of shared infrastructure, not full ownership. What matters more is what sits alongside it: government assigned mobile spectrum, specific radio frequencies phones use to make calls and send data. Without a spectrum license, you simply cannot run a phone network, no matter how much money you have, because the government controls who gets which frequencies, and there's only so much to go around. Whatever Intel calls itself, phone company, infrastructure company, real estate company, that scarce spectrum and cable stake is the actual asset. The three pillar branding is packaging around something that was always going to attract a buyer, no matter what label sat on top of it. There's also a real structural change this time that didn't exist in any earlier sale. As of June 2026, Nigerian regulators introduced a rule requiring heavy scrutiny on any acquisition of 10% or more of a telecom operator, spectrum obligations, competition concerns, the works. Translation: a buyer with no real telecom experience can't just walk in, flip the asset, and walk out, the way parts of this story have played out before. And one more mechanic worth understanding. AMCON's 55% stake means a buyer doesn't need to purchase the entire company to actually run it, just enough to take control. So, new regulatory filter, real structural pivot toward infrastructure, and a controlling stake that doesn't require a full buyout. That's a meaningfully different setup than 2003 or 2007, which raises the obvious next question. Does any of this actually mean money is showing up, or is it still just the pitch? AMCON's own language admits the strategy needs, in its words, significant additional investment to execute. Nobody has confirmed if a buyer has actually committed capital yet. The transformation is a story about what NTEL could become with the right investor, not proof that investor exists. AMCON points to its earlier sale of IBEDC, the Ibadan Power Distribution Company, as the successful blueprint it's now following for NTEL. That sale was actually disputed in court for months. A major Nigerian bank challenged it, alleging AMCON pushed the divestment through without properly consulting the lenders who financed the original acquisition. That dispute isn't part of the story anymore in current coverage. Recent reporting simply calls IBEDC a successful divestment, full stop. That could mean the dispute resolved in AMCON's favor. It could also just mean nobody's revisiting it. Either way, it's a reason to treat "we have a successful blueprint" as a claim worth double checking rather than accepting on the strength of the label alone. One more honest gap. 105 staff were let go in mid 2025 to help reimagine the company. Nobody's confirmed whether that changed the bureaucratic culture this company inherited from its NITEL days or just made it smaller. Back to the real question, is this fourth attempt different? Partly. The regulatory filter is real. The infrastructure pivot is a real structural bet, not just rebranding. But the funding gap is the same gap every previous attempt had. And the one precedent AMCON is leaning on for credibility has a disputed history that current coverage has quietly stopped mentioning.